Shalom, we are now on Psalm 48. A song, a psalm of the Korahites. The Lord is great and much acclaimed in the city of our God, his holy mountain. Fair crested, joy of all the earth, Mount Zion, summit of Tzaphon, city of the great King. Through its citadels, God has made himself known as a haven. See, the kings joined forces, they advanced together. At the mere sight of it, they were stunned. They were terrified. They panicked. They were seized there with a trembling, like a woman in the throes of labor, as the Tarshish fleet was wrecked in an easterly gale. The likes of what we heard we have now witnessed in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God. May God preserve it forever. Selah. In your temple, God, we meditate upon your faithful care. The praise of you, God, like your name, reaches to the ends of the earth. Your right hand is filled with beneficence. Let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the towns of Judah exult because of your judgments. Walk around Zion, circle it. Count its towers, take note of its ramparts, go through its citadels, that you may recount it to a future age. For God, he is our God forever. He will lead us forevermore. The psalmist once again paints a picture of God's holy city and God's holy mountain in Jerusalem and Mount Zion as a symbol of a vision of brotherhood and peace, a symbol embodied by the idea of a messianic age where there is no more war, where nations of all sorts, nations of all stripes gather together to worship and to acclaim God as the one true God. My interest in this psalm actually has to do with the concepts of time and space. First, the concept of space. I'm struck by the psalmist's description. In your temple, God, we meditate upon your faithful care. Today, most synagogues are closed. We don't yet know when they will open as a result of COVID-19. In just about 3 months or so, we will be gathering together in some way to celebrate and to commemorate and worship on the Yamim Noraim, on the High Holy Days. But as of this time, as I record this at the beginning of June, we still don't know how that's going to happen. So many of us have found ways to gather together in our temples, in our synagogues, via cyberspace and technology. Some use live streams, some use Zoom. Many do either or both via Facebook, so anybody can simply log onto Facebook and follow along a service at any synagogue, anywhere. We look forward to the time when we will physically be able to be together. We're not sure yet how and when that's going to happen. But I'm also impressed by the following verse. The praise of you, God, like your name, reaches to the ends of the earth. Because of the miracle of the internet and cyberspace and technology, someone can log into a Zoom service or a live stream all the way across the world, thousands and thousands of miles away. Somebody in Europe, somebody in Israel can tune in to a service that's taking place in the Northern Hemisphere or in North America, and vice versa. We here can tune in to services that are happening halfway across the world, and that truly is amazing. When the psalmist declares that the praise of God reaches to the ends of the earth, the psalmist is envisioning the idea of people gathering together in God's temple in Jerusalem, and it's almost as if the power of their voices and the power of their prayers and their intention is so strong that it far transcends the walls and boundaries of the temple and the city alone, but extends out to the ends of the earth. That in reality is happening this very day. I often am involved in helping to lead Zoom services on Shabbat mornings at my synagogue, Road of Sholem, in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where incidentally I grew up, my own beloved synagogue. And I often notice that people are getting involved and joining our Zoom services from other states in our country. And it's wonderful to be able to see them join with us. So that has to do with space and God's beneficence and glory extending through space to the ends of the earth. Today, via cyberspace and technology, and in ancient times through an image or a metaphor, a vision of God's power and glory extending symbolically to the ends of the earth. So that has to do with the concept of space. But what about time? Well, the concept of time comes in at the very end. We are bidden by the psalmist to recount and describe the glory of the temple and Jerusalem and God's city to a future age, to future generations. And then the very last verse, Kizeh Elohim, Eloheinu olam va'ed, for God, He is our God forever. And then a kind of a cryptic phrase, Hu Yenahagenu Almut. Literally, He will lead us or guide us over death. The Hebrew word Almut can also mean beyond death. And that actually is reflected in the translation here. He will lead us evermore, now and forever. There are some who believe that the word Almut actually ought to be combined, not as two words but one. Almut can mean children or youth, and then the translation would mean God will lead us like children. I like that. That's very nice as well, because the idea here is that we are compared to innocent children who follow the leader loyally and lovingly and faithfully, the way little children will follow their parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles or camp counselors or teachers or whomever. We, like children, follow God. But in terms of time, God will lead us and guide us not only in this life, but forever, even in the afterlife, even in the world to come. God will be our guide. So God's presence in our lives encompasses space and the extension and broad expanse of space, but also the broad expanse of time in our lives and during these times of our lives today, but also in our lives in the world to come in eternity. To me, that is a supremely comforting thought, to imagine that God can be with me and with us, not only now, but forever, and not only in the confined space where I sit now, but extending throughout all spaces of the world and of the universe. It's a comforting thought, especially during challenging times, and it is a comforting thought even when times are good, to remind us that God is always with us in space and will always be there for us in time. Thank you.